is the most tax efficient way possible. Then extreme long-term planning is for that point in time when you and I are both in a rocking chair in a nursing home and we can't even remember we had this meeting, which is for long-term care. Most of my clients are pretty young, relatively, so I say, that's on the agenda, but we'll talk about that in 20 years' time. Is that okay? So what we're starting to do is build a financial plan, aren't we? By saying these are the elements of what goes into a financial plan. And then I finish it off by saying, and one of the things that you can use my expertise on is to make sure that wherever we do this, we minimize taxes and take advantage of any tax breaks. Mr. Klein, does this make sense to you? Mr. Klein, if I could create a financial plan for you that could address all of these issues and help you to identify how you can take advantage of what's out there to help you achieve your objectives, if I could create a plan that does that, do you think we would have the basis of a lifetime relationship together? Okay, if he says no, show him the door. But they always say yes. Because this is not about a product, it's about them. Then I put that in the middle of the table and I work my way down this. So in limited time, 5 minutes, so you can add a bit more. So I say, okay, so we need to talk about this a little bit more. So I start at the top and go down. Obviously, debt consolidation is straightforward, that's an issue or it's not. So protection of your life. I get another piece of paper and I start talking about life insurance. Would you like to know how I sell life insurance?
Yes.
I thought you might. And so I've got a few minutes, I'm going to show you that. So I sit down with a client and I say to this, okay, my observation, I speak at conferences all around the world. My observation has been really funny and unusual watching people talk about how they sell life insurance. Financial advisors, life insurance agents seem to be terrified to talk about death. But hang on, that's the business we're in, is death. They use phrases like, when you go to a better place. I've never understood what is this better place that people are going to go to. And frankly, if it is a better place, why am I waiting? Let's go. So let's not be vague about the things we're saying. So I say to my client, so when I go take you through this agenda of things to talk about, I'm a very blunt person. I talk very straight. Can I have your permission to talk bluntly? Okay, good question. Can I have your permission to talk straight and blunt with you? Again, if they say no, show them the door. If they say yes, you can now say anything you want. So I say to them, okay, John, I'm going to ask you a question. John, on the way home tonight, you fell under a bus. Okay, I do that. In a client meeting, if they're falling asleep, they're not anymore. Okay, bang. Clap your hands as loud as you can as you say, you fell under a bus, bang. Okay. Most people will start saying, John, what if you died? What would happen? Here, let me tell you what would happen. When you tell somebody that they're dying, they're not looking at that. They're thinking, I'm still here. What are you talking about? Why are you telling me about all the things that will happen when I die? I kill them. Say, John, on the way home tonight, you fell under a bus. What's the financial consequences for your family tomorrow morning? That's it. He has to think now about his own mortality and the effect of that. I will not say a word now. If I start talking, the opportunity for him to visualize his demise and the effect of it has gone. It's his turn to think, and he will then, and sometimes it's very uncomfortable, but he will start saying to you, well, I guess the mortgage will need to get paid, the school fees, etc., all of those things. We'll then talk about quantifying the need, which I don't have time to do, but we use a budget planner. Go very quickly, we have a budget planner. We ask the client to fill in detail his income and expenditure, and I take them through that budget planner form, and I say to him, okay, let's look at where you're spending your money. And if you're no longer there because you fell under the bus, where would that expenditure reduce? Okay, so for example, your travel costs will reduce, apart from one last journey you have to make. Your clothing costs will reduce, apart from one last suit you have to buy. So we work our way through that. We get to he would have had at the bottom his current expenditure. We can reduce that according to what's gone. We say, okay, where's the money going to come from? That's it. Where's the money going to come from? He now has to answer that question. And if there's insufficient capital, insufficient other insurance, then I'm going to talk about how he can arrange insurance to do that. Okay. Health insurance is about private medical insurance. People are familiar with that. Income insurance, income protection, disability insurance. So I say to John, on the way home tonight, you fell under the bus again. But this time you didn't die. You died a little bit. You're still there tomorrow morning. What are the financial consequences for you and your family because you're still there? Zip, let him talk. And then we'll talk about disability insurance, we'll talk about critical illness insurance as ways of doing this. And essentially, we will work our way down the agenda, talking about numbers, talking about what he's trying to achieve, retirement planning, when do you want to do this, what kind of income are you going to need. You will have these kind of skills. If I had longer, I'd take you through every stage and show you some of the words that I use. But at the end of all this, it's a long meeting, by the way. This is not a 10-minute conversation. This is several hours of conversation. But if you're going to have I say to the client at the beginning, when I say to make the appointment, this meeting is going to be 2 to 3 hours. And they say, wow, that much? I say, well, in the scheme of a lifetime relationship, isn't 2 to 3 hours of investment now worth it? Nobody argues. So you frame it in terms of what you're delivering compared to what you're going to give them eventually. And so, at the end of that meeting, you've got a client then who's going to say, this is essential, I need all this stuff, what's the next step? I don't have to say it, they will say, what's the next step? So I'm a fee charging advisor, I'll then say, okay, I have to do research on all these areas, I'll charge you a fee for doing that. Okay? If you're not a fee-based advisor, you can just say, look, normally I would charge a fee for doing the research here, but I've really enjoyed this conversation working with you, so I'm going to do the research at my expense. So don't worry about talking about costs and fees. You can reframe them, even if you've never charged a fee, by saying it's at my expense. Implies there's a value, doesn't it? So I'll give you a report now. So we'll put a report together that covers all these things, and then we'll have a follow-up meeting, which is probably Connection Zone next year. Oh. So I hope that's been useful. I'm bang on time, which is unusual for me. I will be hanging around. If anybody's got any questions, please come along and we'll have a chat. But I hope that's been beneficial to you. Thank you.